Thank you. Thank you. Hello guys, good morning. Can you hear me?
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you all? Hello. Yeah, respond to
Fine,
me.
ma'am.
How are you all? Have you come back or still at home? How many of you are here? You can on your videos. Let us see how many are here. Yes. Okay, fine. So you are listening to the classes, I hope. How many
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
how many systems you have been studying in physiology so far? Which are all the systems you have studied so far? Let me know. Yes, anybody? Which are all the systems you completed in physiology? Don't remember?
CVS,
CVS, okay. Then?
respiratory, some part is left.
Okay. Then?
GIT, it is also some of the part is remaining.
Going on, okay. Then? Any other systems going on right now? Nervous system? Are you studying nervous system? Central nervous system. Are you studying? Yes or no? Fine. Today I'm going to start with component of nervous system. I'm not so sure what all components, other components you have studied in central nervous system. This central nervous system, whatever systems you study in physiology, so this is the master system. What we call it as, this is the master system which plays very vital role in controlling the activity of all other systems. Understood? When we study physiology, we talk about homeostasis, where certain parameters need to be regulated, controlled. Okay, so any changes in the environment will be sensed and appropriate changes are brought about. So in bringing about these parameters back to normal, two important systems in the body play a vital role. Mainly the nervous system, and second one is endocrine system. Okay, so this nervous system is a master system in the body which regulates the activity of all other systems. So just a brief outline of this nervous system, how it is organized. It has got two components, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of brain and the spinal cord, whereas peripheral nervous system consists of somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system, which is in turn divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, whereas somatic nervous system is further divided into sensory and motor components. Okay, so this is further divided into sensor and motor component. Right. With this brief introduction to the nervous system, we'll move further. Today I'm going to deal with the component, the central nervous system, of which, as I said, central nervous system, which means the centrally located, it is present in the central axis of the body. So it is called as central nervous system, which includes brain and the spinal cord. So rest of the nervous system which are there away from the center of the body, they are called as peripheral nervous system. They are considered as a peripheral nervous system. So today I am going to concentrate mainly on the central nervous system. In this again I am going to focus mainly on the spinal cord. Okay, my class will be restricted to the spinal cord, not to the other aspects of the central nervous system. So what is this spinal cord? This is a cylindrical structure which extends right from the medulla oblongata, okay, till it extends till the lumbar vertebrae. So this is tubular structure and very important link between body and the nervous system. This forms a very important link between the body parts and the nervous system. Though this spinal cord, which extends from medulla oblongata, an elongated structure, this is only about 2% of the central nervous system, but it has got very vital functions. So why we need to understand this regarding the spinal cord? It is because whenever any disease occurs due to nerve damage or diseases of the any nervous system, understanding the functional anatomy of the spinal cord helps you to locate and also to diagnose the site and reason for the disease. That is the reason we have to understand thoroughly the anatomical function of the spinal cord. You may be studying it in thoroughly in anatomy subject, but which is necessary for functional aspect, that I am going to highlight today. So if you see, this extends right from here midbrain and ends here in the lumbar region. So if you consider the length of it, it is around 45 to 46 centimeters. In males it is 46 centimeters, whereas in females it is around 43 centimeters, or you can say 18 inch or 17 inch. Diameter, if you consider, it is not uniform throughout. So it is maximum at the upper portion, whereas it goes on tapering. The diameter here in the upper portion is around 13 millimeter, whereas at the lower portion where it tapers down in the lumbar region, it becomes around 6.5 millimeters. If you see, it is not uniform in its thickness. It goes on tapering here onwards. Okay. So this spinal cord is enclosed in the central canal of this vertebral column, and it gives away the nerves. If you see here, the spinal cord which tapers down ends here, the end portion is called as conus medullaris. Later on, the fibers are just looking like a tail of the horse. Okay, they look like a ponytail. The fibrous structure looks like a horse tail. So here you can see the side view and the top view of the spinal cord within the vertebral column, how it is placed. So this spinal cord from anterior and posterior side, ventral and dorsal side, gives away the nerve fibers which join outside and form what is called as spinal nerve. Okay, they form spinal nerve. And this is a cross section showing how the nerves are getting emerged out of the spinal cord. And this also shows you the coverings of the spinal cord. I'll talk about it. So this whole spinal cord is being divided into different portions. Like as you can see different colors here. So this has been divided into 4 portions, which is called as cervical, thoracic portion, lumbar portion, and also sacral portion. And accordingly, from the site where the spinal nerve arrive, they are named as cervical nerves, thoracic nerves, lumbar nerves, and sacral nerve. So we have got around 31 pairs of spinal nerves, 8 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, and 1 coccygeal nerve. Okay, 1 pair of coccygeal nerve. And also we'll find 2 enlargements at 2 different parts, one at the cervical region and one at the lumbar region. So they are called as cervical enlargement and the lumbar enlargement respectively. So this is the figure showing the part of the body is innervated by these spinal nerve. Okay, this is also very, very important because to locate the lesion in the spinal nerves, we can assess based on the area of involvement. Okay. So as I said, like a brain which is covered by the meninges, the spinal cord is also covered by the meningeal layers. It has got dura mater and subdural space, arachnoid layer, subarachnoid space which is filled with the CSF, and also the pia mater. So this is the picture also showing how the nerve emerge out and form from both from ventral and dorsal portion. Next, coming to the blood supply to the spinal cord. So this gets the blood circulation through 2 posterior spinal arteries and 1 anterior spinal artery. These are the branches from vertebral artery and the posterior inferior cerebral artery. So this gives 2 posterior spinal arteries, and the branch from these 2 arteries join together form the anterior spinal artery, and these will run through the subarachnoid space and supply the spinal cord. Venous drainage, I'm not going in detail about these things because we will be studying in detail in anatomy. So just whatever is required for our discussion purpose, I'm just trying to show you. So important, the venous drainage, it will go to the intracranial venous sinuses. So this is a figure showing all the components, that is what I discussed so far. So you can see the spinal cord, its coverings, and the nerve emerging out, the spinal nerve, and the blood vessels, both arteries and nerve veins, you are able to see in this diagram. So this is the gross anatomy of the spinal cord. When we try to study the cross section, there are many important things to be understood in the cross section of this spinal cord. You can see there are 2 portions. Whenever we are seeing the cross sections, there are 2 different colors you are seeing here. The central, the darker portion, this is called as gray matter, okay, which is in a butterfly shape, connected with a gray commissure here with the central canal in the middle of it. and the remaining peripheral portion, whatever is there, this is called as white matter. Okay, so we have gray matter and white matter. Why they are named so? Because of the structures present in them. So white matter, it is called white because it consists of mainly the myelinated nerve fibers, whereas the gray matter consists of the cell bodies mainly. That is the reason their appearance histologically is different because of presence of different structures. We are going to study in detail about these things. If you see this, the proportion of the gray and white matter, it is not uniform throughout, right from medulla to the lumbar region. If you can see here, the size and shape of this gray matter varies, whereas proportion of gray and white matter also varies in different parts. Here it is quite clear. Shape also is different. So this is basically because of the number of muscles innervated by, the number of muscle fibers available in the, nerve fibers available in the white matter and number of cells present in the gray matter. That is the reason in different portions, you can see this is cervical, this is T is thoracic second segment, T8 here, L1, L2. So how it varies in different portions. So let us study these portions in detail. When you are going to see the cross section, both gray matter and white matter shows different configurations, as I already said. So this whole spinal cord has got in the front, this is called as anterior fissure. Okay, so this portion, whatever the dip you are seeing, this is present in whole length of the spinal cord. So this is called as anterior fissure, whereas you have got little shallower portion in the back. This is posterior median sulcus. It is called as posterior median sulcus. So this is the central canal which connects two parts of the right and left part of the gray horn through the gray commission. This is a gray commission. So these portions, based on their locations in posterior side and anterior side, they are called as anterior horn of the gray matter. This is posterior horn of the gray matter. Okay, this is on right side and left side. They are posterior and anterior horn. In some segments, especially in thoracic segments, you will also find the lateral horn. It is not present throughout, but in only the thoracic region, you will find the lateral horn of the gray matter. Whereas white matter is further divided based on its location. The posterior portion, it is called as posterior funiculus, which is anterior to the gray matter, is called as anterior funiculus, and which is on the lateral portion is called as lateral funiculus. So these nomenclatures are very, very essential because we had to study how the nerve fibers and nerve cells, they emerge in different part of the spinal cord, and depending on the lesions, we can assess which part of the nerve pathway is damaged or which nerve cells are damaged and where the effect is going to be. To understand all those things, it is essential to have these in mind. Okay. So next, these spinal cord, as I said, gray matter has got, it is mainly consisting of nuclei or cell bodies. So their arrangement in the gray horn is little peculiar. You need to understand that how they are arranged and organized. So there are different groups of cell bodies or nuclei present in the gray matter, which are organized from posterior to anterior. Like most posterior is posterior marginal zone. So this group of nuclei, marginal zone, then comes substantia gelatinosa of Ronaldo, it is called. Next one is Ronaldo. Then is nucleus proprius, and next to that is dorsal nucleus. So these are the four different layers of nuclei present in the posterior horn of the gray matter, whereas in the anterior horn we have got again two more groups, lateral motor neurons and the medial motor neurons. These are named based on their locations on the medial side of the gray horn and lateral side of the gray horn. Okay, so if you see the same thing on the other part, so these arrangements are usually named like they are arranged properly like a they have peculiar pattern. So those are called as laminae. This is the nuclei I discussed just now, which are present in the previous diagram I showed. The same about a little elaboration about the cell or nuclei in the posterior horn of the gray matter. So I was talking about these layers in the gray matter. These are from 1 to 10. Okay, these arrangements of nuclei which we saw in the previous slide is have got some peculiar architecture, that is called as cytoarchitecture. So those are named and they are called as laminae, and these are called as rexed laminae from 1 to 10. Okay, so these one corresponds to laminae 1 corresponds to the nuclei which we saw, marginal nuclei. Then second one is substantia gelatinosa of Ronaldo. Likewise, as the nucleus are placed, these layers also correspond to the same. And functional wise, they are like from 1 to 4. Rex lamina 1 to 4, they are involved in the extrioceptors, whereas 5 and 6, the laminae 5 and 6 are involved in proprioception. Just hoping that you all know these terminologies. I am just going ahead without explaining those terminologies. Can anybody say what is proprioception? Yes? Anyone? What is proprioception? You can unmute and answer. What is proprioception? Anybody? Yes? What is proprioception? Okay. We are going to talk about in the sensory system, but those things. Fine. Then we have next layers. The 11th laminae acts as a relay between the muscle spindle to midbrain and the cerebellum. Whereas 8 and 9, the axons of these neurons innervate mainly the skeletal muscles. So axons from these nerve cells mainly innervate the skeletal muscle. So, whereas the 10th laminae is surrounding the central canal, and it mainly consists of neuroglia. Okay, those are the supporting cells. Next, coming to the in some of the portions, as I said, lateral gray column also exists. So which mainly present in the between the T1 to L2 or L3 up to L3. Okay, so they will contain preganglionic parasympathetic fibers. Then coming to the white matter, I think this image is little blur, but if you can see apart from this central gray horn, you can see some of the structures present in different portion, like in posterior funiculus, lateral funiculus and anterior funiculus. These, the same image I am going to show you in future class also, which depicts presence of different nerve tracts. As I said, this is mainly consisting of nerve fibers, especially myelinated nerve fibers. That is the reason it is white in color and it is called white matter. And these are the locations of some of the pathways. Okay, which pathway is located in which portion. So this we are going to study again in next class. So this is also very important, which nerve pathway is located in which portion of the nerve, because whenever there is an injury to the spinal cord, say for example, if there is a cut through injury, we have to see at what level and which part of the body is affected. If there is only injury on one part, so the lesion type of symptoms, what signs we get differ depending on the nerve tracts involved. So that is how it helps us to understand and locate the lesion. Okay. So with this brief functional anatomy, what this spinal cord is ultimately having the role in our body. So I was talking to you that it is a connecting way between the body parts and the brain. You can say it is an information highway between brain and the body part. So this is the portion which mainly collects information from the peripheral portions, gather it and then send it to the brain. So we call it as information highway between the brain and the body. So what functions it subserves? One important thing it does is it conducts information from way to way, both the ways. It conducts information from body to the brain, and also it brings back the written information to the effector organs. So we are going to talk about these neural pathways in detail in the next classes, next coming classes. So it is two-way. It takes the information from whole body to the brain and bring back. See, whatever action has to be taken place, that information comes back, it goes to the respective organs or to the muscles, and whatever action has to be taken place, that happens based on the information given by the brain. So there is two-way conduction of the information through the spinal cord. The information through the peripheral nerve and spinal nerves come to the spinal cord, and that will be carried to the brain to appropriate brain areas. From there, written information comes and goes to the, again via the spinal cord, it goes to the either organs, systems or to the muscles, and appropriate action will be taken. So next important action is it helps in the movement of the body, locomotion. It's not just walking or any kind of movements you want to perform. It is mainly from the information coming from the cerebral cortex through the spinal cord to the effector organ. Explain the mechanism here. I think it is not the correct time to understand all this. Later on we'll discuss about this in detail, but right now you understand whatever movements of the body, especially the skeletal muscle flexion and action have to be taken place. Those will be monitored mainly through the spinal cord. Next one is reflexes. What is reflex? Have you studied it? Any idea? Anybody? What is reflex? Yes. What is reflex? Can anybody define what is reflex? Yes. Anyone? Please answer. Unmute yourself and answer. Please respond and interact in the class. Yes, Suchit.
It's a pathway
Yes.
of sensory and motor neurons.
Partly correct. Can you modify it a little bit? What do you understand by reflex? Yes. What is reflex? Anybody? Anybody else? Anusha, you are there? Meghna? Hashir? Anybody can answer. See, unless you know what is reflex, whatever I tell, you will not be able to follow it. Anybody? Sachet, you can try once again. You can modify and tell it. Unmute yourself and talk. Yes? Sachet, you are there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, try, modify your answer and tell.
It is a reaction or response to an external stimuli,
Okay.
which is interpreted in the CNS and particular action is taken to that.
Very good. You're almost near. We say it is a response. Okay, I'll just give you one example here. Just say it. Have you guys entered the kitchen during your lockdown? Try to prepare something or help your parents preparing something. Did you try preparing something? Tea or Maggie, something like that? See, whenever you just touch something hot, okay, so what happens suddenly? You withdraw your hand. So how all this happens? Withdrawal of your hand is a response. Is a response to the stimulus. What is the stimulus here? Burning of your skin. You touch something hot. The hot sensation is felt by the receptors in your skin. Okay, that information is sent to the spinal cord through the afferent nerves. Here through the interneurons, the message is going to the cerebral cortex. From there, whatever necessary action has to be taken, the brain sends back the information. Okay, and it will guide you to flex your elbow. Flexors of your elbow come in action so that your hand will be taken away. So this whole thing is called as reflex. It is, how you can define it now? It is sudden response to any external stimulus which involves spinal cord and central nervous system. It is automatic. Okay, so it happens automatically whenever there is any receptor stimulated by any kind of stimulus, whether it is electrical, thermal, mechanical, any kind of. Even you step on some sharp thing, sharp object, you suddenly withdraw your foot, isn't it? So that is also a response. So this whole circuit, the receptors, afferent fibers, the center, efferent fibers and effector organs. These all constitute what is called as a reflex arc. Reflex arc. I hope you might have studied these reflexes. If not, you will be studying it shortly. So spinal cord is the center for all these reflexes. All the reflexes pass via spinal cord and they send the information to the cerebral cortex to appropriate areas. So the cerebral cortex in turn sends information ultimately through the basal ganglia and also in association with the cerebellum for the appropriate action to be taken by the muscle. Then only you can withdraw or move away from that particular injurious stimuli. Okay, so like this, the spinal cord is playing important role in the reflexes. Apart from this, it also controls activity of many smooth muscles which are present in gastrointestinal tract, urinary tract and other parts of the body, and also the glands, activities of the glands, and it also helps in regulation of body temperature. So ultimately the spinal cord is having important role in maintaining the optimal internal environment of the body through its autonomic functions. Okay, so it is not only just helping in the locomotion and the conduction of the impulses or the signals through and from the body. So it plays other roles also, and overall it plays important uh, role in homeostasis. This we should not forget. So understanding of concept of spinal cord, just to revise, it is a tubular structure which is enclosed within the vertebral canal, which is covered by meningeal layers. It has blood supply and venous drainage, and it gives out the spinal nerves, which are 31 pairs, which are categorized as cervical, thoracic, then lumbar, sacral and coccygeal. So those will supply different part of the body and regulate the functioning of those part of the body. It gets both sensory information and gives away the motor information. So it is, when you are seeing the cross section, it shows two portions. The central portion, the darker portion, is called as gray matter, and the outer peripheral portion is white matter. The gray matter is further having, it has a butterfly like structure. It has got two lateral horns with a central gray commissure. The lateral horns are divided or named as posterior horn of the gray matter and anterior horn of the gray matter, which gives a location, which shows the location of different cell bodies, nuclei. Depending on their arrangements, the layers, the architecture of the gray matter is named as laminae 1 to 10, Rex laminae 1 to 10, which subserve different functions because they have different nuclei, different cell bodies, which are giving away the nerve fibers carrying out different functions. Then the white matter has got different portions like anterior funiculus, posterior and lateral funiculus, which gives away or which shows the location of different nerve fibers. Either it may be afferent or efferent. That means the fibers coming towards the center. Efferent means which are going away from the brain to the peripheral part of the body. So like this, we have to understand the functioning of the spinal cord It plays mainly important role in the conduction of the information, collecting from the different parts of the body and giving it to the central nervous system, the brain. So these are called as afferent fibers. Afferent, they are climbing up. So are also called as sensory fibers. The sensation is felt in the peripheral part of the body, which is carried through the afferents, comes into the spinal cord, and then it is going to the brain. Then after appropriate um, interpretation of this sensation, the brain gives back the signal through the efferent fibers or the motor fibers to whichever part of the body to be protected or acted upon. It gives the information, it sends the information mainly to the glands and the skeletal muscles. If you get a prick on your finger, you suddenly withdraw your hand. So that is the flexion of these muscles. The information comes to the flexors so that you protect your body. So the homeostasis is also maintained. So like this, the spinal cord has different functions in our body. So in the next class, we are going to discuss in detail about what are the different nerve fibers available in the white matter of the spinal cord, whether they are ascending up or descending down, what function they are carrying out, which part of the body they are innervating. All these important things we are going to discuss. So anything is not clear so far I discussed, anything is not clear, you have time now to ask the questions. Yes, you can unmute yourself, ask the questions if you have any doubts. Any part is not clear, please ask your doubts. Anyone? No doubts? Yes?
No, ma'am.
So you read it once again. If any portion is not clear, you can get back. In the next class, you can ask me the questions. Or if you are here, you can meet and discuss about the doubts. Okay. So further, next we are going to talk about important aspects. So be prepared and learn about spinal cord today, whatever you have understood. If anything unclear, always you can get back and clarify your questions, doubts. Okay. Thank you so much. Tell your friends to join the classes because we are going to discuss important aspects of central nervous system, which is very difficult to understand if you are not attending the class. If you are reading yourself, you may have a lot of difficulties. If you understand the concepts by attending the classes, it will be very easy for you to remember or recollect. So please convey your friends to attend the classes regularly. Okay. So thank you. Stay safe. Bye bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, just go through the textbooks, read about this portion, spinal cord, functional anatomy, both physiology and anatomy you can read so that you will understand the further discussion better. Okay. just take a small break next till the next class.